Greetings. My name is Lachlan Nicholson. I'm a 33-year-old man living with quadriplegic cerebral palsy just outside of Durban, South Africa. My disability is lifelong and the result of complications at birth. I've been asked to explain the ways in which my disability affects my capacity to engage in public life in this country, and that is what I intend to do in this video. At the outset, I want to be clear that without any hyperbole or needless exaggeration, it is the honest truth to say that having a severe physical disability, as I do, affects every aspect of my ability to engage in public life. It must be understood that in South Africa there is no formal public transport system, so to speak, at least not when compared to those of Western nations. Most South Africans who do not own their own vehicles rely on a chaotic network of minibus taxi syndicates who very often act more like gangs in their turf wars over travel routes. What little public transport there is, which is provided by the state, is regularly interrupted by these taxi syndicates or by one of our regular occurrences of public unrest and riots. Another reason that it is almost impossible to engage in normal public life if you have a severe disability is that South Africa is a very impoverished country. Many of our public buildings are aging and were built at a time when people with disabilities of any kind were not really expected to ever engage in public life at all. And at this point, many of them are so old and run down that it would either be physically impossible or simply too logistically complicated and costly to retrofit them and make them more accessible. Added to this is the fact that outside of a small monthly grant, what you might call a welfare payment, there is no real formal network of caregivers or infrastructure to facilitate the inclusion of people with disabilities in public life. It can take months to be approved to receive this social grant, as it is referred to in South Africa, and even when you do receive it, the amount on a monthly basis now stands at just over 2,000 Rand, which is lower than the average salary. Honestly, as someone with a disability who does receive this grant and also makes a living in various other ways, I don't know how people with disabilities survive if the grant is all that they have to live on. And that brings me to the disturbing realization and truth of the fact that when taken from a grander perspective, I'm actually one of the lucky ones. Because unlike many disabled people in South Africa, I completed high school and then went on to receive a college-level education in the field of journalism. To this day, in South Africa, thousands of people with disabilities receive no formal education at all, partially because of a lack of resources, because as I said, South Africa is a very poor country, and also because of the prevailing attitude among many parents that sending a disabled child to school is pointless, because even if you do so, they will have no prospects in the future. So I hope that although brief, this video gives you some notion of the barriers to public life that exist for myself and those like me.